All right, so you can just rip the trace paper if you want, or you can use your little scale and get a clean break. I always like to put the trace paper so it's kind of rolling down, not rolling up. Same process as before. She got all the corners. Yup. Can even make a little, just like keep your tape over here. Still got one left from before. All right, so base maps below. And we got our next plan above it. So a lot of the times, like most of this information is needs to be included on your whatever plan it is that you're working on. It depends on if you're going to leave the porch, leave the carport, leave the driveway. You know that the house is staying in the same position. Remember, you can go long. I'm just going to keep it really loose for now for the sake of time. My lines are okay. They're, they're not super straight, but they're straight enough. So property line needs to come onto this plan. The locations of the trees is always important. That's got to be a tree. All right, got all the trees. So we know for a start that that is a good approach for a minimum what information is going to be on our functional diagram. At a very minimum, we're keeping the house. We made the decision to keep the porch and the shed. For now, that's a pretty good start. So remember, your main goal is to kind of cover up all the space and to have every piece of the property dedicated to a certain element, some programming that's on your list of programmatic elements has to fill in all of the corners of the property. For now, we've thought about the shape of the lot. We've thought about what's going on. And when you start to draft, you always kind of want to think about like your hierarchy of things and like your hierarchy of needs on the job site and like what's kind of like my main goal, or what's something that's important that's going to like drive the design and like shape other things. So we're going to start with that. We're going to start with the buffer. We essentially know we want a buffer from here to here. I'm even going to make a little dot. We're going to go all the way to here, all the way to this corner, and then back here to the front of the house. So you can kind of do whatever symbol you want. Sometimes people they'll draw a symbol like this. Some people will be more technical about it. like that. Maybe this is like sound. Maybe this is sight. So you could go with 1 or 2 for your buffer symbols. Doesn't really matter. It could be as creative or as simple as you really want. For the sake of time, I'm just going real ugly. Zigzag. It's getting the point across, you know what I mean? It's a symbol. It's all that really matters. You can be as pretty or as loose as you want. Big buff man. Buff man. Ooh. It's like the Simpsons stuff, man. Okay. Buffer. We got that. So we have, imagine that this is the list of programmatic elements that we want to include. Let's look at our list, and we know that something like compost is something that we want to include. So we're looking at these trees back in this corner, and we're saying to ourselves like, yeah, this is probably a good area. You know what, I'm gonna actually start with some pencil until I get my shapes where I want them. So I'm happy with my shapes. I'm not gonna go into pen just yet. So let's go with compost to there. It'll kind of encompass those trees. Compost will be like right there. I'm just gonna do C for compost for now. Let's kind of call this natural play area. Just could be kind of like loose, you know, loose shapes. Remember that when we're looking down our list of programmatic elements, we've got the compost, we've got the natural play area. Now we have the basketball court. Maybe it would be smart to start with the space for a basketball court, because that is pretty big and that could kind of drive the design, you know? So I think in the presentation, it mentioned that a half court basketball is about, maybe we could go with like 30 by 30, something like that. What do you guys think about that? Maybe 25. Let's go with 25 by 25. So you can see here that from the shed, we'll just kind of start it there. Once again, this is why I started in pencil. You know, you could kind of make mistakes. So we have 25 from there. We have another 25 to here. So we're just kind of gonna like eye it out. So that's B-ball. So we know that is where basketball is gonna go. And look, now we can just say bye-bye. Bring that there. There's our basketball. We're gonna go roughly here, edible garden. So you can use symbols. It's kind of just for you. So if you have your list of programmatic elements and you know that these are all on here, you don't need to write compost, natural play area, edible garden. Like, you can just make a little symbol list so you have your own little key. Maybe the fire pit is central. Maybe this area of the fire pit is kind of in that zone. How big does a fire pit need to be? Maybe the circle is, I don't know, 15 feet in diameter. Maybe that's a good size. So look, we're looking at the scale. Flip it for you guys once again. From here to there, it's about 15 feet. So that's just kind of like our quick estimate of how big we want to make the circle. So we know that these tick marks that I made, that's going to be the size. So we'll find the right circle in the template, and this one looks good enough. And kind of just say, keep the shape fairly loose, but we know that it's going to be about that circle. You know, inside circle will probably look something like that. So we kind of have this fire pit. We'll go FP. We're going to have some of this starting to work, starting to fill in. And we want to have some more planting. We kind of want to surround the fire pit with some more planting. Maybe we'll put some planting here. Maybe we want to think about like the dining area and like what this kind of like entertainment area around the house. Like we already have this existing porch right here, so maybe we want to like connect an entertaining area with the house and the fire pit. So maybe something in between this area. So maybe we'll kind of go. Maybe we could kind of go like, you know, something like this. Some shape like so, all the way to the house, all the way down, maybe, and then back up. So then we say like this area is for planting, and this area that I just drew can be for the outdoor entertainment. See how I'm like filling in every little area? Color, plants. Main social area. So we have a lot of space here. Like, what can we do in this space that we've dedicated? This is, let's kind of get our bearing here. Let's figure out where we are from 0 to 30. So that's about 30 feet across. How wide are we talking? 0 to 35. So it's about like 30 by 40. There's a lot going on there. So maybe we, you know, maybe we divide it into thirds. So we'll go with this line and ixnay on that. We'll kind of go here like so. Divide that into thirds. So we had this original area. Now we have 3. We'll call this kitchen. We'll call this group dining. I feel like that's probably big enough for dining and like whatever we want to do. It's about 18 by 25 or so, and maybe there's even something like, you know, maybe like a view like wrapping around or something, who knows. Somewhere with some extra seating. All right, so we've looked at listed programming. Maybe we'll go rain garden here, can help with the house, tie in some of the stormwater. This area here, we'll just call that lush plants, rain garden. Maybe we could have a little quiet seating area over here. I think I spelled that wrong. Quiet. And since we're doing a little screening here, let's make this evergreen. Actually, let's do evergreen. Since we want to screen, right? Let's do this evergreen too. And then that kind of, by default, leaves that space. We'll just call this low seasonal planting, something like that. So you can just keep it pretty vague. Okay, so that like kind of, you know, occupies all the space of the backyard. We can kind of separate the side yard from the corner of the house and the corner of the house over. Like this is the side yard essentially. So everything from the back of the house here, this is considered the side yard, this is considered the side yard, and then this is all considered the front yard. So we've decided to kind of occupy and keep the driveway on this part of the side yard and move the buffer to here. So now we kind of have to separate like what's going on back here with what's going on back here. Since we already finished this, let's move to the front. Driveway doesn't necessarily need to be like a bubble. You kind of know that it's a straight line, so it doesn't need to be like an amorphous shape. And let's maybe pull the driveway in a little bit. I feel like 10 or 12 feet is plenty for the driveway. So we're gonna mark off 12 feet here, 12 feet there, and that will be kind of our method of sketching that in. I didn't really do the best job there, but that's all right. We're gonna just end the drive here. It's driveway's about 35, 40 feet long, so certainly enough for 2 cars. I don't know that you're gonna be able to stack 2 cars in here anyway, but if the people want to, they can. So I'm just gonna put a D for drive there. Now we kind of have some space here. If we want to just like dedicate this to evergreen screening maybe, and we're not really sure what we want to do here yet. So we're just gonna kind of like draw that shape in for now. And for the front of the house, we could kind of say, we'll call this foundation planting. FD for foundation planting. You could kind of divide that, maybe something blocking that corner, maybe something blocking that corner. Maybe you would want to look back at the pictures of the house just to get a better idea of how you would want to divide that. But just understanding that like here we're gonna have some foundation planting. Maybe here's color. Maybe we call this, maybe along the street, we have some low shrubs, something like that. So if you want, you could just say planting, you know, you don't have to qualify what's going to be going on. But if you've already got thoughts about what it might look like, feel free to add them. So instead of just saying planting, you could say low shrubs. I'm going to call this medium shrubs. And then we're just going to say maybe not a lawn. Lawns are not that cool. Let's go with shade garden. Okay, so that like kind of covers most of the job site. So since we've got it in pencil, it's kind of nice to be sketchy in pencil. So what we're gonna do now is just kind of like fill in what we've got drawn and start to add some line weight hierarchy. Remember, this can be really loose, really sketchy. some color in this bed. Here's the driveway. And some evergreen. We're not really sure what's going to go here. We probably know that it's going to be divided somehow into 3 parts, depending on where the gate goes. So maybe we just leave it like that for now until we decide about the circulation. So there's essentially not a wrong way to start to distinguish the plan, but you kind of need to just fill in the spaces with a pattern. So you can use your tools to help you. Here I'm going with the old parallel glider. You can see now that's got stripes. You could go with color. Sometimes color is a little bit distracting for me. Basketball, you could even go so far as to just draw that in because you know what it's going to look like. Loose. There's the paint. Natural play area. You know, maybe you pick a symbol that relates to the planting that you're going for, you know, but maybe you don't. So maybe it's like see, that was starting to get a little thick. Maybe I should just done little dots like that. So maybe it's like mulch in the natural play area. Lush gardens, you can kind of mess around with whatever pin you want to use, whatever shapes you want to go with. Here I'm just kind of drawing these like little V shapes, so it's like a V and then a line, kind of looks like a tulip almost. But it's essentially just like a hatch to fill in the space. So graphically, you can kind of study and tell the difference between these things. You don't necessarily have to spend a ton of time on hatching and kind of what that looks like, but you can. Here I'm just drawing these little squiggles. Evergreen. We're going sloppy. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Something like that. Maybe with this whole area, since it's kind of all the same social area, we go with the same pattern across the whole thing. Remember, we kind of drew this shape. And then we subdivided it after that. So there's one. It's kind of looking the same as the compost, so we're gonna change it up. Okay, that's looking good. Rain garden. What about little raindrops for the rain garden? Pretty ugly, but pretty easy. Doesn't have to be super pretty. Low seasonal. What about these little stars? low shrubs, squigglies. Shade garden. Looking like little ants at a picnic. Colorful planting. How about 2, since this one's easy. And then 2 and 1. Front. How about we do 3 little squigglies. And then about 3 of those lines. So it's just like, doesn't really matter what you do with your hatch. You just have to see that it's all different. And I'm drawing the same line in the same direction. I'm not going doot, 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 doot back and forth. I just feel like that's easy. Evergreen, what does evergreen want to look like? How about really fine squiggles? And fire pit. What do we want for the fire pit? I feel like the fire pit's gonna be something like that. I don't know. It's kind of ugly, but yeah, don't like that at all. But let's save the day by just coloring it with some dots. All right, so as you're working through, you can kind of see if your plan is kind of like passing the squint test, you know, which is literally like look away, squint your eyes, see how the line weight hierarchy reads. I think that personally that the hatch is kind of thick compared to the shapes. So I think what I'm going to do is just add a little bit more depth, moving the Sharpie really quickly through here, just to kind of separate the spaces. I'm going to just give it a little bit more depth for the areas that are between. So I just feel like that helps with the way it reads. Once again, sketchy, loose. Cool. So yeah, just thickening up my lines a little bit, I feel like helps with the hierarchy, you know? What does this look like? Let's see. There's that. Forgot about that one. And there we go. Next thing we want to do, you know, we added labels to most of it. You would want to put your labels in thicker pen. It's just kind of helpful. Rain garden, lush planting, low seasonal, medium shrubs, shade garden, colorful plants, basketball. This is more evergreen. This is more fire. This is a social area with kitchen, group dining, and we'll call this small group dining right here. We're not sure what this is, so maybe we'll say planting, and then low planting. And then there's probably going to be some movement through that space. So we've gotten everything filled. We filled in all the spaces. We've used our hatch. And the one very important part is thinking about circulation. So we know that people are going to be driving up from the street. We know that people are going to somehow get into the house. Really, we should look at the photos. Yeah, so the stairs are over here. So we're gonna put an arrow here and then down. All right, we know that people are going to come from the driveway through the back. They're going to need to get from here to there, back and forth. And people are going to come into the house. How are they getting in and out of that house? They're using the back door. Just thinking about circulation, how are people using the space? You know, going in and out of the house. People are probably going to walk in and out here into this quiet space somehow through that buffer. And maybe they walk through the shade garden from that gate to the driveway. So now people are kind of inside in the back. They're going to move probably through the rain garden. So we're going to put from quiet space into the outdoor kitchen. A lot of people are going to be going directly to the fire pit out here, or they're going to be hanging out in either one of these spaces. Then people are probably going to leave the fire pit or the group dining to hang out in the play area. So I'm just going to kind of like do them both like that. And then I think to get to the compost, it's probably something more direct. From there, basketball, how are you getting to the basketball? You're probably walking through the edible garden. So maybe we would want to leave the edge of the edible garden or leave a space to get the basketball. And then to get to the shed, people are probably going in. I don't know where the entrance to the shed is. I hope I didn't mess that one up. Let's just assume it is where I put it is. So that's pretty good for me. Maybe these could be thicker. to stand out better. Go over that a little bit more. Or maybe we say like some of the main arrows are thicker. This is probably the main one, but you know, just starting to kind of put it together here. It doesn't have to be perfect, but that's kind of what it looks like. And you typically want to add your title information. So kind of just like you have below, it's the same. It's your client, which is Cookie Monster. It's the designer, which is my name, same date. The title, you're going to change the title. Functional diagram. Scale. Got to be on there. North arrow, gotta be on there. Yeah, and you can still, you know, this is kind of just a tool for you. So it's like, you know, that's the house, you know, that's the shed. So it's like, you know, you don't need to really label everything. Some of this stuff's just kind of like obvious. So I think that that's a pretty good example of the functional diagram. Yeah, so make sure you're going back to your program, your list of elements that the client wants, you know, based on your chat with them. And we're checking things off the list. First on the list, basketball. Got it. Check it off. Backyard fencing. Boom. Fire pit. Right in the middle. Dining area. Plenty of room for dining. More useful configuration. You can feel confident that you've completed that. Compost. Place for leaves. Low maintenance garden. It's edible garden, not evergreen, by the way. Yeah, edible garden, fruits and trees, low maintenance. You just have to kind of remember that throughout your process. So yeah, once you've kind of gone through and checked out the programming, you know that you've kind of got a complete functional diagram. And this is a way for you to study the organization of the space.